Hey man, how's it going?
Oh, not too bad. Just enjoying some homemade ginger ale.
Cool.
Bought like 3 pounds of ginger root and had to have some fun with that. Still got a bunch left over because the recipe was like, oh, only use 2 cups. I bought like 8 cups, so I didn't realize
Well,
that
I'm
it would
sure
be
it'll
that
be
bad.
very gingery. Yeah.
Well, it said to like cut it into slices, and I thought like it wanted to like puree it, which I think if it was pureed, it'd be like 3 cups. But no, just simple chopped coin slices, and yeah, it's
Gotcha.
pretty good.
Cool, cool, man. And yeah, welcome back everybody to Bite My Shiny Metal Cast, episode, what is it, episode 6 of season 4, where the Buggalo roam. So, like and subscribe and jump right into it here. So the opening caption, crafted with love by monsters. Do you understand the joke of this particular caption, by the way, if you
No.
see it?
Well,
No?
it says LUV, so I'm
Well, there's
guessing it's
two things.
something
It's LUV and then
crafted with a
crafted
K.
with a K. So it's like
Is that
monsters are
KV?
misspelling. What was it? No, no, no. It's like monsters are misspelling the words. That's all it
Oh,
is. Yeah. With love by monsters. I also kind of reminisced about like, cause remember, was it the previous? No, the previous two episodes, right, where they worked for Romanticon or Romantic Corp, and they had like the WOV. Kind of reminded me of that.
yeah,
But
that's
of
what I
course,
thought. I
that's
thought it was something like that.
WUV, not LUV, right? So
Love.
yeah,
Yeah,
love.
well, it's just how you spell love in an annoying, cutesy tootsy way. It's either
Exactly.
LUV or WUV.
Oh, people are just, you know, so good about that, right? So, in any case, we open up on Mars, I believe, for the second time of the series, because the first time we went to there for the university. This time,
I think we've seen it a few times, but like it's like sometimes some things in like passing, like
yeah, or at
the
least
one
talked about.
episode where we see where Cubert's introduced. We're at the university there, but
Yeah,
like
that's what I
it's in
mentioned,
the
the
building
university.
and stuff like that,
Yeah,
so it
so
doesn't
we've
really
gone to
count.
we've gone to Mars University, obviously, which
A
was
couple times.
named Mars University. Yeah, I guess one other time because the professor was going to be sent to the near Death Star, right?
Yeah, that
But
one. Yeah,
and then they had
where
like the little
they had like
party.
the little party. It's
That's
inside
right.
like the yeah yeah.
That's right.
It
So we've
it
been
does it
technically
doesn't
three
really
times.
count, but because you
Yeah.
don't really go outside the room, so you don't even
Yeah,
see a
exactly.
window as far as
We
I'm
just know that
concerned.
it's there. Exactly.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
this
So
time we
we've been
actually,
to Mars a few times.
yeah, but this time we actually get to open with it, right? The Planet Express crew, the whole crew is joined together to fly to Mars, the mightiest of the planets, and they are invited to a barbecue, specifically the Mars Day barbecue at Amy's parents' place, Wong Ranch. You've come to the Wong place. I love I love that little sign. That never changes. I don't believe
But
in.
Anthony, that
Yeah.
sounds bad.
What's that? Come to the Wong place?
Yeah. Why?
Why? Why is it wrong,
Why?
Mitchell? Tell me why it's
Well,
wrong.
seeing how people can have accents like the Wong family, Wong can be misinterpreted as wrong.
Oh, I see.
Oh.
And it's mispronounced, right? Oh no.
Oh
Yes, but
no.
it's still a funny joke. I still enjoy it.
Oh, me too. Me too. It's funny.
Yeah, it's always good. But yeah, we've met them before, obviously, but this is Leo and Inez Wong. These are Amy's parents. Played Inez is played by Lauren Tom, who also plays Amy or whatever, just
Yeah.
with a slightly
Yeah.
older sounding voice.
She plays her mother and the daughter at the same
And the
time. I
daughter,
love that.
that's,
Yeah.
yeah, it's wonderful. And then Leo Wong, who is correctly played by Billy West because he sounds that much more silly and
Yeah.
it makes him that much funnier when he speaks. So I do enjoy hearing this Leo Wong voice. It honestly, it's so jarring now when we have like the Hulu one, and it's so strange to hear him and then go back to this. You're like,
Oh yeah.
he didn't
It's
even
very bad.
try. Didn't
No, no,
even
he
try to
didn't
sound
even
like
try.
him.
No.
Yeah.
Like when the
So
Simpsons recast all the black people with black people, which
I think it's just
yeah.
Michael Richardson. It's
No,
mostly Kevin Michael Richardson. He did Doctor Hibbert.
Carl's
And
replaced by someone else. Like
oh, is he?
it's not
Okay,
that. Yeah, I think they got someone specifically for Carl, who all I think does some other like side voices. Like whenever they hire a voice actor, they
sure.
always play like background characters who have like a one line voice, like "Hey,
Right,
Homer Simpson, woo" kind of thing,
right,
right? Or
right.
something like
Yeah,
that, right? One line. You can just pay one of your dudes who already does 1,000 voices to do it. It's not a big deal.
sure. As long as he fits the color, right? Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's
So
annoying
silly.
because it's not real
They,
life. It's a voice actor. So if the character is a certain ethnicity, that character's that. If it's played by someone behind the scenes as someone else, mind you, if they're doing a very atrocious accent, yes, that can be a little weird. But if it's a
yeah,
comedy thing like Futurama or The Simpsons,
Simpsons
and
or
they're
Family
playing
Guy or
into it,
something.
I
Yeah,
think it's all right. But
yeah.
mind you, they
Well,
have to like be like very over the top. It can't be like, oh, that's accurate. It's like,
yeah,
okay.
exactly. Well, I'll even give credit to like at least making voices sound like they were. Like even when they replaced Cleveland in Family Guy, at
Yes,
least they
yes.
did get a guy
Yeah.
who sounded very similar to
They try to get
Cleveland.
as close as possible. And it's the
But
same thing when they, it's a
yeah,
different thing, but when they replaced Rick and Morty, they got people who sounded
right,
like Rick
like
and Morty. They
identical,
didn't just get new
exactly.
voice
Yeah,
actors and to, oh, you're just going to do a young teenage. Hi, guys, I'm Morty. How's it
yeah.
going?
No, it's like, oh,
Hey,
hey
I'm
guys.
Rick.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's still very
it's
much
Rick and
them.
Morty.
Yeah,
It sounds like Rick and Morty. They're a little
exactly.
different if you want to be
Yeah,
annoying about it, but
I
yeah.
think I think they had to interview like 100 people or something, and it got to like a
Well,
point where they were really like picking like who was like a 9.6 out of 10 in terms
yeah,
of
as
like
close as
how close it
possible.
was. Like it was crazy. But any case, yeah, Leo brings them in and he shows them around and all this kind of stuff and tells everybody to make themselves at home, which Zoidberg does. I love Zoidberg.
Immediately. Yeah. Oh
Zoid,
my God.
Zoidberg has such a great. I don't know if I want to pick Zoidberg as an MVP. I'll think about it, but there is something about just his side that, like, as he goes on this episode and he's just hanging out with the Wong family, there is something about Zoidberg. But in any case, it's interesting as well. So Leo and Inez Wong are also very how do you describe it? Like very cowboy, right? Like very like the
Banshee.
westernized, like yeah, ranches and
Yeah.
like western stuff and everything. It turns out they own the western hemisphere of Mars, all this
The
kind of
best
stuff.
hemisphere.
The best hemisphere, of course. And their main product that they show them off is the Buggalo, which are insect creatures that are like black and white. They're kind of basically they're cows.
Yeah, substitute for cows, but they're bugs.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
then we see them in the
See
new
them later.
season, the new Hulu season, and for some reason, instead of being Texas Ranch, it's now Barcelona, Spain. It's
Like
very
next door
consistent.
to it. Yeah, it's very
Yeah.
yeah. There's a
Which the Wongs still have a big part of owning or something like that. So it's like,
they're
so,
instrumental in it because they are the ones that own the Buggalo. Because
yeah,
they use the bull Buggalo, right? Like the ones with
yeah.
the horns, which were introduced again in the Hulu series. But it's very strange because of course the Hulu one, or sorry, the Fox run, like the original run, this run,
Yeah, that's right.
we never see the male Buggalo. I don't think anybody
No,
ever really
no.
considered. It was just like, oh, maybe
the,
they're
the
all
only
male,
creatures we
but
see in this one is the Buggalos and then the weird tarantula, spidery horse
oh yeah, that's right.
things.
Those ant termite like rides or whatever. Yeah,
They're tarantulas.
that's right. Yeah, everything on Mars is insect, and I think
Giant
that's
insects,
a
yeah.
reference to John Carter, is it not?
I only ever saw the movie, which apparently is vastly different from the books. So
Okay. Pretty
yeah.
sure it has something to do with that because they make a lot of insect related situations on this. Like they have the Buggalo and then yeah, those rides and then other insect related things in other episodes.
Yeah.
So
In the movie, I can't remember which one it is. Don't we see like a giant sandworm being like a train?
I think so. Yeah, something like that. Or
so
and that could be like
your
a Dune
whole thing about
reference
like
as well,
giant
but
bugs
yeah.
here. Yeah, it's like I didn't really make the connection that that's kind of like everything out there, especially because we've only seen maybe 4 episodes that has something to do with it. But to counteract that, there's also an Amazon on Mars which has elephants, jaguars, and like other Amazon style stuff, which we saw in the Mars University when the professor was looking for
Oh,
the
that's
monkey.
right.
Gunther. He's
Right,
looking
that's
for
like
Gunther, yeah.
in the biome area of that's right, because they terraformed
Mars
Mars,
University.
right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And it
So
turns out there are no rainforests on Earth anymore because they're all
no.
on Mars. So that's
It's a
where they
little
probably put all the
inconsistent,
animals.
but
Yeah,
I guess
that's right.
it's not integral to the story. Like they don't really go like, oh
Yeah.
yeah, the forests of Mars, let's go there. Oh yeah, the ranches of Mars. It's more about like the place, like the Wong Ranch, the Mars
Exactly.
University, and that's really all we see. And then
And
and then
Barcelona City or
eventually,
the town that has the
yes, there's
Buggalo
that
Run
one.
or whatever.
But
But
we
it's
also go
yeah,
to one of the few casinos in the Comedy
right.
Central run.
That's in
So
Mars Vegas. Yeah, that's
to
right.
to
That's
me,
in the
like
city.
it's
Yeah.
Hulu really screwed up because it's a very Western like Texas, like right. There's a whole bunch of
Yeah, it's
Indian or
Midland
native
desert,
or whatever you
United
want to call it,
States, that sort of
casinos and
thing.
stuff like that,
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
Reserves,
Mhm.
which I hate.
Reserves. Yep. Yep.
And also it's Texas. There's a whole bunch of ranches, so it doesn't make sense with me when they did the whole Barcelona run with the Buggalos things. It didn't make
Nevada,
sense to me.
Texas, yeah, parts of
Yeah.
California, yeah,
Yeah,
exactly, yeah.
to me that was the whole thing. It was like sandy, like Texas, I
Sure.
guess, like ranchy.
Yeah, but I guess it's also like Barcelona is like in Spain, it could be like the very hot environment, and they also have like
I've never been,
desertous
so I
stuff like
can't
that.
say for the
Sure,
topicalness,
but
but I would
yeah.
assume that it's quite different from Texas. But
Oh, it is, of course, but it's
yeah,
still, yeah, they still have like that because it's supposed to also be like a Mexican theme in some regard or whatever. So like or a Spanish, I should say Spanish theme because Mexico has Spanish
influences.
inheritance and influences.
Yeah.
So that's probably the situation as well. But in any case, a little off track here,
Yeah,
but
there's a geography lesson for Mars.
there
In
you
the
go. Yeah.
Futurama
So
world
Mars in
class.
the Futurama world is filled. The Western Hemisphere is owned by the Wongs, who have a casino and a ranch. In another part of Mars that we're not sure about is also where Mars University is, which the
Oh,
Wongs donate to. So they actually do have a lot of influence there anyway.
yeah,
So that could also be in the Western Hemisphere. And the
and
fourth thing,
casinos.
and I said this casinos,
Right.
which is in New Mars Vegas, right? Which they own, basically
Yeah,
own the city. And then on some other area that we're not sure about either is like a Spanish inspired town where the Wongs also have like a lot of power because that's
yeah.
where
They,
they
they
run
ran the games there,
Buggalo.
didn't they?
Yeah, exactly. That's like
Yeah,
the whole thing with that. So in any case, Mars is basically run by the Wongs, but in different routines and different systems. So
yeah.
any case, we're also introduced to one particular Buggalo who does show up again, also like in later parts of the series, as well as Amy's pet Buggalo that she left there named Betsy. And
It's
it's just a
voiced by
Buggalo.
Maurice LaMarche, which I find hilarious because like
That
he
is
usually kind of plays like the creatures.
the animals. Okay.
Yeah, I would say he's probably the second best one.
Mhm.
Bradley D. Baker, I would say
Yeah, he does
is
Frank
the
Welker.
best one. Yeah,
Yeah,
Frank Welker. Yeah, he did the voice. Sorry, the roar for the lions in the Lion King, if
Lions.
I
Yeah,
remember,
that's right.
with
Yeah,
a metal trash can.
that's right.
So
Yeah, I remember you saying. And
yeah,
so yeah,
amazing
it's
voice actors.
and cool how they can do that kind of stuff, right? So anyways,
Oh
we
yeah,
get Betsy.
a breathe his own. Yeah.
Yeah, we get a throwaway line from Leo Wong saying like if Amy ever got married, then they would eat her.
They would eat Betsy, yeah,
I
as
think
like a
that's kind
ritual
of
thing, yeah.
yeah. So in any case, Amy gets kind of upset at him for this situation or for that comment, but it turns out that the reason for it is because we're also going to have Kif being brought to meet Inez and Leo Wong, right? For apparently
Yeah.
for the first time, because Leo says something about the time about like, oh, finally we get to meet this Kif. Now, correct me if I'm wrong though. This is also incorrect in terms of continuity because it wasn't Amy
They
that met him first. They introduced her
Yeah,
on the
but like
space
I
Titanic.
don't think they really knew his name. I think it's not from my culture, but like
Mhm.
you've been closer to it than me, right? Um, we found a captain. That's a status. It's a status thing, right?
That's
They didn't
right.
really care
Yes.
what his name was or how he acted. It was like you should
Yeah.
marry him or at least mother some
Well,
grandchildren for us,
yeah.
kind of thing,
We
right?
did. Yeah, exactly.
So I
We
don't
want a
think
lot of
they
grandchildren. Yes.
yeah, I don't think they really paid attention to his name. So that's just how arrogant they are, I'll say. So that's my little like
Headcanon
excuse, I
for
would
it.
say.
Sure.
I would just
Yeah.
say
Yeah.
excuse of why they don't really know him. It's just
So
that
they
he was a
just
captain of a starship. So that's a status thing. You should marry him because
so
it's a
they cared
status
more
thing.
about his status and they didn't pay attention to either his name or what he looks like because they also don't
Yes.
recognize him when they meet him.
Yeah.
Right.
You're 100% right though. You are 100%
Yeah.
right. They have met him before, but I'm just
Yeah.
going with that they're so arrogant and
Mhm.
status orientated that they're just like, oh yeah, I forgot about that kind of thing.
Right.
Just because he's below, because he's not anything, right? Isn't he like Zap's assistant technically?
He's Zap Brannigan's assistant, exactly.
Yeah.
And I guess that makes him second in command technically, but
It
yes.
does, but also doesn't. It's very
Yeah.
weird. Unfortunately, the infosphere.org has been like out of service for like the last 2 months, 3 months, or something like that. So I can't look
Oh,
up these specific details, kind of thing.
strange.
Yeah.
Well,
But
eh,
yeah, so I'm gonna go with that's my headcanon that they did meet him, yes, but they didn't take any notice of him
they
because
just
it was just
totally forgot
the
him.
captain.
Okay.
The captain was
Sure.
such the bigger part of it.
And it's been well over a year at this point, right? Because we established that when Amy and Kif did start dating, like in that episode where they crashed into the planet with the Amazon women
Yeah.
food, it was a year. Remember, because they talked about last year we Zap flew the space Titanic into the black hole area or whatever, right? So
Absolutely.
it has to be a period of time after that even. So we could say it's up and around 2 years. So it's been that time. So maybe and you know what? The Futurama universe and the Wongs, they meet a lot of aliens, they meet a lot of people. Maybe they're just indistinguishable to them now, right? They don't really think about these things too. So there's ways around it, but in any case, they are the ones who introduced him to her. So there is there is a little bit of that, but that's okay. Any case, speaking of Kif, we actually travel back over to the Nimbus, right, the ship, and we have Zap and Kif discussing him meeting the parents, and Zap trying to give him
Best way
advice.
to her parents is to sleep with her parents.
Sleep with her parents. The best way to get to a girl is through her parents. Sleep with them and you're in. Something like that, right?
Yeah, I think that's word for word perfect. Yeah.
Yeah, something like that. So any case, he says this stuff like, you're meek and uninteresting, so just, don't be that. Be more like me or whatever. So back at the ranch, everyone's partying for Mars Day, and they learn that Mars Day itself is an anniversary for years ago where there was an ancestor of the Wong family, I believe named Reginald, who made a deal with the native Martians of the whole planet that he would basically, I guess he got the whole planet or half the planet, I guess, whatever owns what. I'm guessing half because that's what the Wongs own now.
They could have sold it off and stuff like that. That's generally what happens when you have
they could have sold
land,
off
you
half,
can
I
sell
guess.
things off, yeah.
Whatever the case, yeah, they got the planet, or most of the planet, we'll say, for what they call a bead. And that was basically it. To which Leo openly mocks because he thinks that they're, dumb Martians who just didn't know better about all these kinds of stuff. And so
it's kind of a what's the word, like history that kind of happened, that England kind of invented currency and money kind of thing, and ownership,
people taking advantage of people not knowing any better when it comes to exactly. No, that's where
they were nomads. They were nomads. They had kind of like a greater area and stuff like that, and they all fought with the tribes of each other and stuff like that, but like they didn't really stay and own the land, right?
Exactly.
So they didn't know any better.
And don't get us wrong either, Leo Wong is not a good person.
He's a great person to laugh at.
Yeah, he's a great character. He's a horrible person, and he is like straight up evil near the end of the films and the Comedy Central run. Again, by the time Hulu comes around, he's very neutered. Like he doesn't do much else after that. But during like the movies especially, he's actually quite bad. But this is within his character, well within his character to make fun of. Exactly, he's well within his character to make fun of the Martians, right? Especially for what he perceives as them to be dumb and all this kind of stuff. So
and there's a couple jokes too, like they don't use good grammar, and like of course he says that in a very broken English way.
That's a little bit later, funny. With the
it's just what's the word I'm looking for? Hypocrisy.
Very hypocritical.
Yeah, hypocritical.
Yeah, he's very hypocritical. You're right. So, in any case, when they're all here, they're doing the whole thing, and they learn about this anniversary and why they have Mars Day, and Kif is brought in and he's being introduced to the parents and everything, and he finds it very difficult to be manly, right? This is Kif's big thing. So Kif is not,
assertive.
He's kind of weak. Yeah, he's not assertive, but he's not mentally weak. We'll say he is actually quite strong and he can do a lot of courageous things. He has in the past.
Yeah.
But he doesn't present that macho exterior, right?
No,
he doesn't smoke. He doesn't like speak very, assertively or confidently. Yeah. He gets scared quite easily and his skin changes. He does this camouflage reflex. Like that's the kind of guy. And this, of course, does not impress the Wongs, right? This does not impress Amy's parents.
Yeah, the parents. Amy loves him, but the parents.
Well, of course, Amy adores him. Loves that he has the feelings. Loves that he's not like this at all, because he's different to everybody else that she's ever been with, and he actually cares about her in more ways than just the one way, right? So it actually does. It's really nice about that. So, they don't like him. He's too skinny, too weak, whatever. So afterwards, Amy is trying to console Kif because it's okay. Like, I know it was embarrassing, but you tried and all this kind of stuff. And he really wants to be better, but he just can't. However, as they're here and we're back at the ranch, we suddenly get a noise, and a very strange noise, sound like a. We could do the sound because we've seen this episode so many times, but whatever the case, we hear this weird sound. And suddenly a sandstorm picks up. And so everybody runs into the house of the Wongs, right? They have a mansion, so everybody fits in there, no problem. And everyone is checking outside to see like what's going on. And so after the storm sets, the Buggalo are gone. And we have no idea what has happened with the Buggalo. So the Wongs are distraught. and they don't know what they're going to do because it's basically their livelihood. Everything about, actually, literally everything about them is with their livelihood, aside from their casinos.
Which aren't mentioned in this episode, are they?
They're not. So that's definitely an afterthought. But the Buggalo are like their main source of income. So, I also do like Zoidberg in these scenes, but I'll talk about Zoidberg afterwards when we're talking about our funny scenes. But in any case, Kif, after Hermes is about to, but Kif decides to volunteer to try and save the Buggalo. And so this will, A, show that he's manly and courageous enough to do so, but also might impress the Wongs and see them that he can be worthy of their daughter. So there's like a two thing. And of course they get their Buggalo. So there's like three good things that can come out of this. However, if he loses, he'll probably die. And therefore the Wongs are okay with accepting him to go and try and save it, because either way they win. So he dresses up in this like cowboy attire, all this kind of stuff, like the cowboy boots with the
spurs.
Thank you. The spurs. I was going to say the shackles. I'm like, that's not right. Yeah, the spurs. The hat.
Well, I come from cowboy lineage, so I know.
Right. Yeah.
I also come from native lineage, so I know the phrases there too. Yeah.
You're constantly fighting yourself.
Yeah. I took my own land away from me. That's why I'm so conflicted innerly.
Internally, Mitchell. Yes.
Internally. Innerly? I said innerly? Yeah.
Innerly. Yeah. Wonderful. So, any case, aside on top of all this, even though Kip is like the one to volunteer, the professor's like, oh, well, this is clearly dangerous. So the trio, you're going to go with them. This is how we get our main characters into the story. So any case, so the prof sends the trio as well as Kif, and they all hang out, or all are sent out rather, with a wagon and their little steeds, the insect steeds. And they go to, I believe
there's a key point here. Betsy was the only one that didn't get taken. So they used Betsy to kind of locate the other Buggalo. So right.
Kif's plan is to use Betsy in order to lure the cattle, not smugglers, the thieves, essentially. Whoever.
There's a specific word for that, but
there was a word that they use for it. I'm blanking on it myself, but whatever the case, yes, he gets wranglers. There we go. He gets the cattle wranglers. He's going to try and get them to see that there is one left or whatever, and the only one they have left is Betsy. So the four of them plus Betsy, and they travel on this cart, and they're going to go on like a cattle ranch to go and try and find the Buggalo. Yes, go ahead.
There's a little cool animation thing here, which I didn't notice till I just looked at it now. Sure. But when you do a walk or a run or mostly a walk, you can hide it with a run. But foot slip is a thing. So that's when like they're moving on a specific speed, but the ground is not matching it. So that's called foot slip. So like when you're noticing their foot slip and stuff. Anyways, they hide because like there's these weird spider
steeds, horse things.
They have steeds. Thank you. They have like 6 legs, right? That's a lot of things to count. So they hide it with like a dust trail. They hide it with a dust trail, which I'm like, but there is. If you have a practice side for this, if you notice that there would be foot slip, but they hide it with a cloud, and also Bender's in the back in wagon
with his banjo.
Yeah,
his classic, like that is actually classic Bender. He actually has a banjo.
He has a banjo.
It is great that they bring that in every time. So that's good. So he's playing that in the carts, and then Fry does his yeehaw like kind of thing, right? Because they're cowboy stuff. So
and it is Mars. So like as they're traveling, they see the what's the mountain called there?
I was just gonna say Olympus, I think it's called. Mount.
From the Greek gods.
Olympus Mons. Yeah, that's what it is. Yeah, the tallest volcano in the solar system, apparently. At least that from what they know.
And what we know too. I think that still stands.
And and Fry keeps going like, where?
We have
to go near the top. Where? Yeah. So, any case,
that's a Fry thing, because it's always like when it's like, what? I don't get it. Oh, now I get it. Like,
now I see.
Now I see.
And now they get to the near the top or whatever. They're gonna camp near the top. Where? Whatever. And fun thing actually. They're doing ghost stories, right? They're having a nice campfire with their horses.
It's something you do when you're around campfires with your buddies, right?
It's totally something you just want to do. It's just it's a fun little fun time for it. I think what was it? Bender was telling a story, but it's more so scary for robots. So then Leela and Kif both try and tell it, but it turns out that Fry knows both their stories.
Book in the hand. Man in the attic.
Man in the attic, right? So he's like, okay, I'm going to tell you one, and then he basically makes up one actually, because they're talking about a cattle ranch and all this, or cattle drive and all this kind of stuff. In any case, as he's finishing his story, I do also want to point out his ending of the story, because we just hear the beginning. I think he says like, one day, like one evening, like 4 people went on a cattle drive just like this or whatever, right? But he says the villain of this story at the end, and I wrote it down just to see. He says like a demented, knife-wielding, lunatic, libertarian, mutant zombie. Like
It's
that
covering
is
all like the
exactly. I love him
genres.
throwing in there libertarian. Like this is clearly like inspired from like his family or something. So
Yeah,
and
I guess his father would definitely be one, anti-commie and stuff like that,
yeah,
and away from the government and
exactly,
all the
as far away from it
bananas.
as possible. Exactly. So, in any case, as he's told the story to scare them, Amy pops out, kind of, giving them that little jump scare as well.
Ah,
But she's just there because she wants to be with Kif and make sure he's okay and everything, and gives him a kiss and everything. And
they
then,
technically make love according to his species.
well,
Skin on
okay,
skin contact with love.
so yes, it's kind of funny that way because he's sitting there, or they're lying on there, they're watching the stars, just the two of them, right? Amy and Kif.
Oh.
And then they get into this, romantic thing about like the stars and everything. They start to, get it on, and then they hear like a rumble, to which then Kif says like, oh, maybe we just made exactly like a rumble on the volcano, right? To which then they're like, Kif thinks that, oh, maybe they just made love. So I had taken that to be like he's just inexperienced and he just doesn't know what making love is to the human standard of making love. But you're right.
Yeah.
He touches
as we've established later on with that sex tape of his species, they just have to touch and just feel love, right? So any sort of physical touch with love behind it, he technically should be pregnant according to the rules of his species in Futurama.
Yep.
And they did it twice this episode.
As long as his membrane or whatever is ready to receive like DNA from whatever his smizmar is, right? Like if we use the correct terminology of his species. But it's also because I'm pretty sure they've kissed before, right? Now all that kind of stuff, right? So what makes it different nowadays to beforehand, right? Because we've seen them beforehand, right? Is it the rumbling?
Say that they're early in their relationship kind of thing. So there's that, do I like her? Do I love her? Do I like him? Do I love him kind of thing. So maybe like because the whole thing,
they don't see each other very often, right? Because he's always on his missions and everything. So
well, I guess it'd be mostly about him because he got pregnant by Leela, right? So Leela didn't love him. So it just has to it has to mostly be receptive for him. So he's still very unconfident. Unconfident. Whatever the word is. Like just he's not confident enough to be.
Yeah, he's not confident. He's unconfident
in a relationship.
Yeah.
So we could headcanon say that he's not quite 100% of the way there yet.
Oh, okay. But then still making love in his mindset and has like that rumbling feeling, or maybe he mistook that for something. Who knows? Yeah. But he never really corrects himself.
It's more of a joke. It's more of I think it's for the joke. But
it's
like
definitely
the thing
more
is,
of a joke. Yeah.
It's what you and I like to do, kind of thing. We overthink these things. I made a new little sticky note here that says suspension of disbelief. So
good. And it's there again. Awesome.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, it's very strange. But in any case,
it does bring up a good point though, because it does kind of contradict what we learned later
with his species.
Species. Yeah.
So in any case, we can throw this all around. It could be just the joke of the episode, the joke of the time, because he does it twice in the episode. It could also be, if we want to stick to the continuity and make the continuity, it could be like maybe he thought the rumbling was something that maybe his body did, therefore, he thought it was that, or he's just inexperienced and doesn't understand what human making love actually is, and so he's using that term incorrectly. Whatever the case, does not matter.
No.
Point is, it turns out the rumbling actually is from the Buggalo. They're in the crater at the very top of the volcano, coincidentally. So they look inside, they see everything. It's like, oh my God, you did it. We saved them. We found where they were. So the cattle ranchers or wranglers rather, must have like seen them or run off or whatever, because they got scared of Kip apparently. But any case, they're like, okay, well, let's deal with these Buggalo. And so they're going to set up some, I think they put dynamite underneath.
Well, someone said, well, unless Amy, your parents have 1,000 helicopters.
Unless they had helicopters.
And then it was like, I think it was Bender's like, too late, we're doing this. And then they exploded them out of the thing. And Kif is like, oh yeah, I've been in this situation before. So this is
exactly.
Much easier.
He learned about this with something else. And he said the idea is the same. It just takes a little bit of different technology to make it run. Right. Yeah. So in any case, I love the idea of them exploding all those Buggalo out. When
they exploded out, they were all 3D models. So I think still at this point it was still like costly to move them. But if you just have just the model, just like, like T-pose or whatever the word I'm looking for here is, and they just kind of float around and stuff like they got exploded, much more easier to do than just like, oh no, the legs are waving, the heads are moving. That's expensive.
Sure. Any case, yeah, they explode them out of there. I also wanted to mention as well, this is when Kif and Amy are lying there. They do, like, during the night or whatever, Kif does mention how he likes being out in the wilderness because it makes him feel more manly. So that is something to take away, that Kif actually does grow a little bit from this experience. So in any case, Bender blows up the Buggalo with the dynamite. They shoots them out. They're all like, "Yay, we can do this stuff." However, wouldn't you know it, as he's doing it, the sound,
sand tornado.
Yeah, the sound comes back and the sand tornado comes back, and like the sandstorm, all this kind of stuff, and they get kind of sucked into the eye of it. And it turns out what is causing this to happen are the native Martians. They have developed the ability to kind of like control the sands of Mars, so to speak, to make them,
with their singing.
With their singing, it's a very indigenous, Native American type of like
throat
mythology
singing,
for it, right? And they also have the ability to fly the Buggalo. Apparently nobody knew this was the thing, but if you are a son of Mars or a daughter of Mars, you have the gift to perhaps fly Buggalo. So they're going to do all this kind of stuff, but as they do so, the Kif tries to bargain with them to, like, release the Buggalo or let them leave or whatever. We can do this, and they find out that Amy is the daughter of the Wongs. So they take Amy and leave the Buggalo because they're going to ransom her essentially to the Wongs for the planet. So Kif returns to tell the Wongs about the situation. They get upset with them, and this is where you mentioned, right, with that letter with the bad grammar, right? Floats over, and it's like, I know it's them because they know not use good grammar or something. Yeah. Oh yeah, a little sandstorm thing.
I love that little detail. Instead of a giant tornado, which is how tornadoes usually work, it's just a little one holding a letter.
It has like the little sound like it just flies over, right? So they do it, and then it makes a mention of their grammar. So in any case, they're like, okay, well, we left it to you, Kif. You failed. You're useless. So we're actually going to get somebody who's better about doing this. And then Kif automatically knows who they're gonna get, and we get a brought back of Zap Brannigan, who of course is super macho about it. He's like, yeah, finally I can fix Kip's mistake.
I know. I love how he introduces himself here. I am the man with no name, Zap Brannigan here at your service. So just I love that line because it's just such a Zap Brannigan thing to say. It's like, I am so important. Hey, could someone please bring me something?
Or even at the end, he's like, oh, I'm sure that there's nothing to do with Kif. I'm sure it was all Zap Brannigan. And he's like, you give me too little credit. Like it's so good, man. Like he has such good lines in this episode.
It's another example they could have used in the Hulu series.
I know. Yeah. Mark this one down on our list. We're gonna make a pretty big case of this.
Every episode, there's at least two.
There's got to be, right?
Minimum two every time we see him. And I love his character in the Fox run specifically.
Mm-hmm.
But
no, he's so, again, not a good person. Hilarious and well-made character. Just so good. So.
It sounds super dangerous, and they might need help. So the professor sends the three again to help Zap.
Because they're going to find, because Leo tells them that, of course, the native Martians are set to a reserve that's underground. They don't have any land. And Zap is going to go try and basically bargain with them to get Amy back. However, he's going to do that, right? Yeah. So, yes, Professor sends the trio. So Zap, Kif, and, of course, the trio all go and trying to rescue Amy. And they go to
Betsy follows them.
And Betsy follows them because of Kif, right? So she really likes Kif. She likes Kif, and that's really sweet. So yeah, she kind of tails them, I suppose. And they go to the Great Face of Mars, not to be confused with the Great Ass of Mars, which is like entrance.
Way on the other side of the planet.
I do. So I like that it's kind of like because later we see what it looks like, right? But that means it goes super deep into the planet. It's very interesting.
He's got very big meat cheeks, I think, is what they're saying. Just to go to the other side of the planet, it's a very, very long butt cheeks.
Exactly. So they enter the bargain, and the Martians, of course, like they aim their weapons at them, and it's very, what would you call this? Very, very, very Native American, right? Like the bows and arrows, the torches, all this kind of stuff. But it's also futuristic, right? So they have to be futuristic, which is great. And I guess we didn't really explain the Martians. So they're not like little green little green creatures.
Oh
Like they're
yeah,
actually
yeah.
kind of insectoid themselves. They're like these
Kind of, yeah.
grayish, and I think do they have more than one set of arms as well? Like do they have like 4 arms and 2 legs, or is it still just the 2 and 2?
It's just a 2 and 2, yeah, two
Two
and
and
two.
two, okay, but they've got like the Native American attire, right? Like they got like
Yeah,
the headdresses and
which
and
is
the
like part of their
clothing.
body, yeah.
Exactly. So it's
Yeah.
it's very much influenced by that, and their voices even, right? They're very much
Yeah.
influenced by that
I
kind.
think Billy West plays like 4 of them or something like that.
I know he does. I know Maurice LaMarche. I'm sure David Herman in there is probably the main one. Even I'm not
From
100% sure.
IMDb, it just says that it's mostly Billy West, and then Tress MacNeil plays a female one.
The female one, yes.
Yeah.
You can
So
tell from that, yeah, for sure.
they all probably played some like I mentioned earlier. They probably just like we need a one line. Who's in today? Oh, Maurice is. Yeah, let's get him just to do the one line. Boom.
Just do the
kind
one
of thing.
line. Can
Yeah.
you do this one kind of line? Can you do this one kind of accent? Sure. Okay, throw it in, and then
boom.
try again.
Yeah.
Go done. Yeah.
But from the looks of it, it's like Billy West plays Dust Storm, Singing Wind, and just Martian natives. So.
Oh, okay. So I was just gonna say. So the chief is singing Wind. That's Billy West.
Yeah.
Wow.
I think Phil
He
Lamar
is
plays the
king of
guy.
voices, yeah.
Because there was a commercial back in the 90s or 80s or something like that when someone littered.
Yes.
It happened right in front of a Native American. And,
That's one of my favorite jokes of this episode.
I've never seen the actual commercial, but like I think
that
it's
is
like,
where it comes from,
I
right?
knew
Yeah.
it was where it comes from. So Zap drinks a can, throws it to the side, and then you see a native guy cry, and he's like, "Oh wow, they have so much
care so much for the
appreciation for the
environment."
land." Yeah, for the
Yeah.
land. And then the guy goes, "Cynthia used to love
drink
Slurm." Yeah, so as like a failed relationship, he's not quite over.
He's
it.
remembering
Or she
the-
died. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that is such a great line of that subversion of expectation.
Yeah.
That is the perfect example of subversion of expectation done right. Right? Like you're expecting something else, but this is what it gets to you, right? I also do like Zap Brannigan's comment right beforehand. He's like, by the way, to be clear, land is the thing that has sky over it, and that's when he drinks it and throws the can, like it's a mocking thing. So I thought that was pretty funny. But even like Singing Wind says like, I am Chief Singing Wind, and all this stuff. Like, bring me to your leader. He's like, moving on.
Moving on.
So in any case, they want the land for Amy, but of course the group refuses, and so they decide, okay, we're just gonna basically throw you out, or I guess kill you in some kind of way, right? So they start doing their noise, and the sandstorm begins again, and it's coming up. But then, wouldn't you know it, Kif looks over and he sees like with Betsy, because Amy gets flown up into the air because of the tornado. So to save her, he takes Betsy and flies her. Wouldn't you know it, Kif has the gift. So Singing Wind sees this, and he stops everybody. He's like, listen, this is great. Like you are one with us. You are part of our dynasty and everything like this. You are a son of Mars, and therefore we are going to make peace. We're not going to hurt you anymore. We're not going to sell Amy or whatever. So they bring him to like their, what is it? Not a tent or a teepee or anything, but their lodge of some sort, right, where their home is. They invite them in, and then they're going to have smoke on this peace pipe. And of course, Kif earlier in the episode has been trying to smoke this whole time, and he's been doing a bit better. And this time he successfully does it. He successfully smokes, and everyone's like really proud of him and all this stuff. And then he takes one more hit, and then the chief hits him on the back as like, congratulations. And then he coughs in his face, which then causes the chief to lose his temper again. So instead, they're going to kill Kif with the bead, okay, that Reginald Wan had originally traded for the planet. Okay. Turns out this bead is not a bead like you would think on like a wrist. It's a giant diamond, probably the size of like, I don't know, a car. It's quite massive.
They're gonna crush him with it. Like
they're gonna crush him
first.
with it.
It's like your typical drawn diamond, like the
like a cartoon diamond, the triangle diamond.
Yeah.
It's diamond
Pointy
shaped
down.
diamond. Yeah, like if you think of the shape of a diamond, like the diamond icon, that's what this is. It's just massive. And so that diamond is coming down until Leela states like, oh my God, that's a giant diamond. And Amy says like, oh, I'm sure we'll trade it back and all this stuff. So Singing Wind is like, wait, this thing isn't worthless? Like, we can actually do something with this diamond. So they don't kill Kif. They let him go. And they're like, you know what? We're just going to use this diamond, and we're going to buy another planet and make it sacred.
Yeah.
So that's the whole point of it. So in any case, they release everybody. They fly. The Martians leave the planet, right, with the giant diamond. And the Buggalo, Amy, and all the rest of the cast, they all return to the Wong Ranch. And Amy explains what happened, to which they don't believe him. They say the lie with, "Oh, it must have been Zach Brannigan," and you give me too little
you give me too little credit.
So Amy and Kip are talking outside again, and she says, it's like, well, listen, if my parents liked you, then I probably wouldn't, and all this stuff. And they kiss. And this is another time when the Buggalo run by, and there's like another little earthquake, rumble. To which then Kif writes in his diary that, "Oh, I made love for the second time." So this is something that's only happened twice, right? Like, this is in his mind. So something must happen with his species or whatever. We can theorize about it all we want. But in any case, that is where the Buggalo roam. So yeah, overall, I think this
funny episode.
It is a funny episode. I think there's some really good lines.
Zoidberg has great stuff. I think there's a couple. There's a lot of little jokes at the barbecue that they had at the beginning, like like when you think barbecue, you think ribs, chicken wings, chicken legs,
all antennas and legs.
It's all antennas.
Thorax.
And, Leo Wong's like, "Oh hey, would you like a thorax or leg?" And Fry's like, "Leg." He's like, "Want some salad with that?" Ew, no.
Exactly. Yeah.
Kind of how I react to salad nowadays, anyways.
I also did check as well. So because we were talking about it earlier, we did in the Hulu revival with them going to Wong Ranch, right? And I'm trying to remember, what was that? Why were they? Oh, right, for the Buggalo running, right? For the bulls. Leela is shown to be like totally into eating Buggalo, right? Like all this kind of stuff, right? That entire time. I mean, she's not eating it, but that entire time she's actually, in this episode, she is super into, the cultural things and, being a good person, all this stuff. She's totally out of character in the Hulu revival. Like I knew there was something off about this, because she would definitely be on Amy's side. I don't know why they just wrote her out that way.
Because they don't know how to write her in the new episodes.
I guess not. But even like in this one, it's like, because it's still a funny line. Like they say like, "Oh, the stupid Martians, they traded the whole planet for one bead." And then they're all laughing, and then Leela's like, "How can you laugh at those poor people?" And then it's like, "Lighten up, Leela." He's like, "Oh, like it's funny." She's like, "Of course it's funny, but you don't have to laugh about it." Like, she understands, right? She would laugh too, but she has this pride not to do so, right? She thinks it's wrong. Yeah. So she virtue signals, if you will. So something like that is so funny that she wouldn't do that in the future. Like, it's so strange, especially for that, only because she wants to constantly stuff herself with Buggalo.
I think you and I have established that the new episodes, they don't know how to write Leela. They don't know how to write Leela.
They don't know how to write a lot of those characters.
Because she's not quite a boss girl, and that's the only thing they know how to write. Just a woman who's instantly great at everything she does. When Leela has been shown to fail and have like and
she's
not
wrong.
A perfect she's wrong, not a perfect
she's wrong a lot of the time,
attitude or personality. She's flawed like everyone else in the world is. So they don't know how to write that.
She's a really well-made character, and that's the unfortunate thing for it. But in any case, I did pay attention to that a little bit. But yes, and other funny lines. So I saved this till the end just because I thought it was worth talking about. Every time we see Zoidberg, he's constantly getting more and more close to the Wong family, up until the point that he's dressing up like them or dressing up like a child.
He had a polo shirt that says Wong or something like that.
So I also, one of my favorite, I think this is probably my favorite line of the episode is like, so the Wongs are showing them around. It's like, "Oh, this is our Buggalo. Like, they're good for everything, like milk, meat, even sometimes rowboats." And then they point, and Zoidberg is already on like a Buggalo wing,
a hollowed out
rowboat or whatever. He's like, "I broke your television."
Yes, he's waving.
I also like that's one of my favorite lines.
What do you fill the bathtub with? Don Pyeong?
Which one?
I don't. When you fill their bathtub full of that specific champagne.
Don't Hin Yong or something. Like it's like a really expensive. Yeah.
Like it's went to half full. Do you have any more of this bubble bath?
Right. and I fertilized your caviar.
Yeah. And my other favorite one is when like they've been threatened, like Ma, Pa. Oh right. And
don't make me choose.
Miss Wong's like, "I want a divorce because Mr. Wong isn't rich anymore."
Right.
And that's what he's like, "Yeah, Ma, Pa, don't make me choose."
Like, so they're not your parents. I'm not your sister. That's not your golf cart.
Yeah.
No.
So he made himself very comfortable.
He did, and he's like, "Don't mind if I do." And he's already in their dress robes and all that. Oh, it's so great. Zoidberg is very funny in this episode. It's hard to
Billy West put in work for this episode. He, like I said, like he did a lot of the voices.
He did carry a lot of this episode. I mean,
Fry, Professor Zoidberg,
Zach,
Leo Wong Sap.
Yeah.
A few of the
original Leo
natives.
Wong. Yeah. The native, Chief Singing Wind, if that's true. Yeah, absolutely.
What was the cowboy? What was his name? Because the Wongs like to meddle with Amy, right? They're just like, oh, he's not very manly. But you look at over there, there's a cowboy, like the hottest cowboy
he's
ever.
He's an old friend of Amy's or whatever. You come a long way, baby. Like this whim. Yeah.
Is that also Storm?
That could have been.
Yeah, that's also Billy West. So he carried this episode via a lot of voices. So
there you go. And the camel, I think, is played by Phil Lamar, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, Joe Camel played by Phil Lamar.
Joe Camel, right? So no, there's a lot of really good
kids
lines.
love him as he's there smoking. It's like, I think we should look into this a little more.
Awesome. All right. Well, how about yourself then? So I told you my favorite scene, at least. My favorite joke is probably the Brannigan one with you give me too little credit or whatever, and I'm the man.
I love how arrogant he is. It's just so wonderful. So I am the man with no mane. Zach Brannigan here at your service. I do love that. Leo Wong is pretty good.
Yeah.
I just want to say Billy West because he did 80% of this episode, but that covers all the characters. I'll probably say Kiff because even though he got kind of like oh, you can't do this, you're terrible, you're not good enough kind of thing, he overcame it all and was awesome. So I'll say Kiff.
Sure. I'm gonna go Zap. I'm gonna go Zap for this, just for that, because he does he does broker the deal in some way, but he only had
jokes. Yeah, he only had 6 lines, right? And each one was gold.
Yeah. The only way to get what is it? Get to your girl is through her parents. Sleep with them and you're in. That is. I also did the whole. Such a great Zap line.
There was a term. It's called Indian giver, which it might be racist depending on who you are, but it's basically the natives people would give you something and they would come back and ask for it back kind of thing. So that's where it's but you gave this to me and I gave you a payment for it, so you can't get it back. So that kind of became a thing, right?
Sure.
And so Zap, things us and I don't know what he said, the world or Earth or America or whatever. We have a certain term called no backsies, and that's when he pulls out the gun kind of thing.
That's right. Yes. So, that's right. Yeah. Buyer's and he has buyer's remorse and all that stuff. Yep.
I'm misquoting it very poorly, but no backsies. That was pretty good. So Zap was pretty damn good this episode. But I'm gonna stick with Kiff just because he was kind of the focal point and he did what he said he was gonna do, even if it wasn't very pretty to watch him do all this stuff. Not manly.
Wasn't very well done, but that's true. He did do it. Yeah. Very well made episode. What is this one here? The where the Buggalo roam, right? Such a great episode. But I guess we'll cut it there. So thanks, Mitchell, for joining me again for today, and we'll see everybody next time for episode 7 of season 4, A Pharaoh to Remember. Also,
there's a couple more, but the future episodes are more Bender oriented. I think he's got 3 or 4 more episodes.
A lot of them are going to be Bender oriented, so we'll get to see which ones
we're halfway through the season for this. Yeah, we're
already halfway. So
I think 5 of them are all centered around Bender.
Yeah. Very strange for that, but he is the main character, right? But
pretty much, the face.
He's the face. So, in any case, man, have a great one. And
we'll see you later, man.
Next time.
Yeah. Toodaloo.
Toodaloo.